Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and in this week's Spotlight on Story, we're going to be talking about Thulsa Doom. That's right, a comic book, 4-issue limited series made specifically for the titular character. This is an enemy of Kull the Conqueror, every so often an enemy of Conan also. First appearance, go and check out all the things that you want about 10 things about Thulsa Doom explained in a minute on Comic Book University. That explained in a minute is in parentheses, by the way. It's not actually a minute long. Anyway, so this is a comic book that came out back in 2009. This came out in 2009, July is when it was actually published. I'm going to get into a whole bunch of good things about this comic book after I talk about the comic book itself. First, we're going to be talking about who made this comic book. So let's get started. 4-issue limited series. This first part is called Feast of Venom, Issue 1, Who Will Cry for Atlantis, based on the character created by Robert E. Howard. The plot was by Luke Lieberman and Arvid Nelson. The script is by Arvid Nelson. The artist is Louis Antonio. Hope I'm getting that name right. Ramiello Fayaro Jr. does the beautiful colors in here, and Simon Boland does the letters. The covers, all 4 of these covers, man, Alex Ross. Oh yeah, this comic book series is worth getting just for those covers alone, I'm saying. Okay, executive producer, the executive editor of Thulsa Doom is Luke Lieberman. More on that in a little while, with a special thanks to Arthur Lieberman at Kull Productions LLC. That's right. There's going to be a whole lot that I'm going to be talking about as far as this is concerned, but this is a Dynamite Entertainment comic book, so it has nothing to do with the Marvel series whatsoever, or anything that happened in Dark Horse or anywhere else, all right? So we're going to start off with finding out that Atlantis has sank below the sea. There's plenty of chaos. The Earth is shaking. All of Valusia, they're on Valusia right now. The whole planet for the most part is sinking. Remember, Atlantis is actually a continent. It's not just a city. So the capital city of the continent of Atlantis was also called Atlantis. So the whole thing is sank into the sea. So the whole world right now is in a cataclysm. This is actually the cataclysmic state. And everything is shaking. Everything's bad. Monsters are actually coming up from the cracks of the earth every so often. It's pretty bad. It gets pretty bad. So we're going to start off with this group of slavers, and they're bringing these slaves from here to there, and one of the slavers gets out of hand. It's like, hey, you calm down. He's like, I'll do what I want to do. I'm going to take this one slave right here. Yeah, you know what that means. It means exactly what you think it means. That's messed up. But don't worry, she gets saved by Thulsa Doom. That is really weird. Anyway, he shows up. His name is Thulsa. He only calls himself Thulsa all throughout this entire comic book. Just Thulsa. His last name is not actually Doom in this. This is cool. I'm going to explain all that good stuff after this review of this 4-issue limited series is finished. We talk about the movie that was supposed to be made, and we talk about a whole bunch of stuff, so bear with me. So he comes out, and he's just this huge dude. He's like, boom, and everybody's like, bam. But there's a lot of them and only one of Thulsa. So they're a little bit hyped. They're amped. Like, bring it on. So he starts talking to, the one guy's like, silence, calm down, relax. And he's hissing a lot. There's a lot of hissing. And when he does that, his eyes turn a special kind of green. It means he's using a form of magic, and he's calming people down. This is pretty much the only magic you'll see Thulsa being able to use throughout this 4-issue limited series, unaided. Anyway, so he gets close enough to the guy, and then he just strikes. He's like, yeah, and he pulls out this kukri from behind his back, a totally awesome dagger. I believe it was made famous in Pakistan? Anyway, something like that. So this kukri, totally freaking awesome knife, just slices this dude's throat. Now, could have been a really awesome scene. Unfortunately, there is absolutely nothing about this image that makes any kind of sense. By all means, judge for yourself. This is a horrible image. I'm sorry. Like, this right here told me this comic book was not going to be great. Just based on this image. This was supposed to be one of those, it wasn't a splash page, but it's supposed to be like a splash, and he's just jumping forward, and just look at the idea that he grabs the guy's beard and then slices his head. Shouldn't his slicing arm, his right arm, have come from under, not over? That alone tells me that this person, Louis Antonio, has probably never even been in a fight. At least off understands the physics of fighting, the physics of anatomy and movement. There is no way on earth that something like that would happen. What, he sliced the guy and then reached under his arm and then grabbed the guy's beard? On top of that, look at the position of the club. He's jumping over top of this, this club thing that the guy's using. It almost looks like an oni, the Japanese oni. It's like he's jumping over top of this thing. It's like, dude, what? The physics of this make zero sense. This is a horribly drawn image. I cannot emphasize enough just how terrible this is. And since this is the first real action scene in the book, it completely it bottomed out my expectations for this book. And I'm almost glad that it did, because I'm going to complain about this book pretty much throughout. There's a whole bunch of potential, but man. Anyway, so he's able to beat up this one guy, but there's like way too many of these guys. And all of a sudden, this guy Malleus shows up. He's from this kingdom called Maracana. Supposed to be some great kingdom and whatnot. He shows up, he's got all these guards with him, and this is like his sister or something like that. I don't know, you never really see her again. At this point, the wife, I don't know, whatever. I just don't care. I don't care because nothing else really makes sense from this point on. Anyway, he goes to, rescue her, and he doesn't thank Thulsa. Instead, he says, "You're welcome that I rescued you," even though this woman would have been raped by the time that... Yeah, like, the whole thing is just terrible. Everything about this is just terrible. You're going to grow to really hate the Malleus character. There's nobody to really root for in this book. The best you could do is root for Thulsa, but it's like, I don't know, I feel like they saw Phantom Menace and like, wow, they made Darth Vader into a really respectable hero in this, and it didn't work, and this doesn't really work either. Let's continue with this. So basically says, hey, come on back to my kingdom, saying, and hang out. He's like the captain of the guard, but he can make these kind of decisions. Don't worry, that'll be rectified later on. You'll see. So then we go to An Kosta. She is this, so Atlantis is sank, but apparently the Atlanteans, for the most part, they still get to be there. And the Atlanteans seem to be all these powerful sorcerers, these magic users. Now, it's going to be very important to remember, do not even consider the Marvel Comics version of Atlantis. This is more of the Robert E. Howard version of Atlantis, where they're all either barbarians or they're powerful wizards. You don't get a whole lot of who the Atlanteans are. Kull the Conqueror was an Atlantean. He's just this ridiculously powerful barbarian. Not much powerful than the other barbarians in these barbarian tribes, but this was one of the barbarian tribes of Atlantis, not Atlantis proper, the city of Atlantis proper, where you got a lot of powerful sorcerers. This is one of the powerful sorcerers, and An Kosta is in this area where there's a whole bunch of sorcerers. Anyway, she comes out of this bloodbath. She had a beautiful, beautiful slave sacrificed so that, well, you're going to find out in a little while, that basically her face is all sorts of messed up. The right side of her face is just torn apart. You see the under the flesh, you see the muscle and the sinew, and you see the teeth all, lined up, and it's like, this chick is hot. They even show some nudity here. They show some booty. You will see a little bit of female nudity in here. Whatever. Everything feels like it's drawn very bubbly. You know what I'm saying? Like, the breasts are way too full. The butt is way too compact. Like, there's just everything, you see body parts. Like, it's like they're just too wildly placed, and I don't know. The art's not bad, but it's not great either. And again, I've always had a problem when you have a good cover, when you have a different cover artist than you have for the art inside the book. When you have Alex Ross on the front and then you have somebody else on the inside, you're not usually going to have, you know, a good comparison there. But very deceptive. And the artist here just does not live up to anywhere close to, and most people can't, but this was just nowhere close to what's on the covers. Anyway, yeah, just bottom line, I'm not a huge fan of the art in this book. It's very bubbly. All the people are drawn too bubbly, and yeah, no, not a fan. Not a fan. I am a huge fan of Romulo Fayaro Jr. though, so the colors really make up for it a lot. A lot of the detail that's missing from the pencils is made up for a lot in the colors, and it is what it is, man. Romulo really saved the art in this book. There's still some beautiful parts in it, like for instance An Kosta, she's got that crown. I really like that stuff. But anyway, so on to this, you know, back to the story again. She gets into it with this guy named Kyaneth, and he's like, you could just tell he's an eviler than her person. He's got this red nose. He looks like a major drunkard, you know, and he's just like, you know, it's your fault that Thulsa left, and now you've got to bring back his head. Maybe we should be bringing back your head instead. And she's like, oh, you seem so jealous. Like, there's this other guy saying you got to go get the head, and then, you know, Kyaneth is like, you know, oh, we should take her head. You know, it's like, oh, really? Psh, you know what? You know, you sound like somebody who's jealous. In fact, didn't I shoot down your attempts to come after me, you know, some time ago? You were like trying to solicit me, and I was just like, nah, I shot you down, right? You're in Rejection City. I didn't even friend zone you. I'm just like, no, ew, get out, you troll. And he's like, well, how dare you? Nah, I blast her. It's like, you know, the Lord of the Rings, where Gandalf and Saruman are fighting each other, and it's like, you know, these supposed to be powerful wizards. Nah, they're just really throwing each other around back and forth. At one part, it looks like the scene from Willow, you know, and then Bad Morta's like, and they're just spinning the one dude around and smacking her. Oh my God, it just gets really messed up. Anyway, so in this, they just kind of blast each other, and Kosta winds up winning because she's more powerful. But any kind of damage to her whatsoever, even if it doesn't hit her face, although this did hit her face, any damage to her whatsoever immediately takes away the illusion that her face is whole again. So she's got to sacrifice another slave in order to look pretty again, because she doesn't want to fight if her face is, yeah, anyway. So she's got to go back and do that again. But she's got to go and get Thulsa. It's apparently her fault that Thulsa escaped. Okay, well, this is interesting. So they're indicating that maybe Thulsa is an Atlantean. He's certainly got the body for it. Like, he's just huge and jacked, right? Anyway, so we go back to Mariconda, and we see, you know, the Kingdom Mariconda, and we see that Malleus shows that Mariconda really isn't such a glorious kingdom. It used to be glorious. Now it's not looking so good. There's, like, you know, wreckage everywhere because of the cataclysm. We still don't know why the cataclysm happened, right? Okay, so also the Duke and the Duchess of Mariconda are dead. They're strung up. They're upside down. And this dude named the Prophet, you know, the Lord of it. He's a Lord of Atlantis. He calls himself the Prophet and all sorts of other scourge names and stuff like that. And he's like, I have this amulet, and I'm going to be like, pew, 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 and shoot people down. And it's like, okay, that's rather random, but sure. So he's killed the Duchess, the Duke and the Duchess, and Thulsa's like, yeah, I'll come and hang out with you for a while, but, you know, the whole time he's just like, I'm looking for something. And he's like, oh, this is going to be bad. Malleus is like, why? He's like, that amulet that he's got there, that he's calling himself the seal of, he's got this thing on top of his head, this marking on his forehead, and he's marked everybody else with this mark also. But he's like, this is my seal, showing that I'm actually, he does it with this hand, that I'm actually a Lord of Atlantis, and pew, pew, pew. So, he's like, that amulet is actually what I'm looking for. Okay. This begins the whole why. Who are you? Why? Who are you? Why? Who are you? Malleus is kind of sort of supposed to be shown as a really good guy here, but everything about him is just why? Who are you? Why? Who are you? With Thulsa. And Thulsa doesn't really want to explain. It's not even that. It's like he wants to explain, but he's always interrupted. And then Malleus asks at the most inopportune times, who are you, Thulsa? gets to the point where it's like, you don't trust him. Why did you invite him in the first place, dude? And you were a jerk to begin with. Oh my God! Like, there's nobody to root for in this. So anyway, he just starts pewing this prophet guy, and then the other guys just like teleport someplace else where they're just like, okay, so we got to come up with this plan. It's like, how did you get here? How did you get here? The scene just breaks and shows that they're over here now. We're over here now. Remember Casino? So this is really weird. They come up with this idea. Okay, we got to go in there. We got to get this, whatever army you can muster so we can get up there and we can get that thing from him. And he's like, who are you, Thulsa? Why do we need this thing? What is that thing? Who are you, Thulsa? He's like, I'll explain, okay? So then they go up and they're outside of the freaking thing right now, and they're like, okay, we're going to sneak in at night. It's nighttime now. We're going to sneak in there. We're going to do the things we got to do. And it's like, okay, wait. We can't go anyplace yet, Thulsa. Who are you? And it's like, oh my God. Please shut the hell up. I swear to God, if I come inside that comic book, I would beat the little snot out of this Malleus guy. Shut up and ask at a better time. It was daytime before. It's nighttime now. The entire time before. You can ask the question sometime then. It's only, okay, it's time to move. Go now. And it's like, wait. I need to know who you are. Tell me your story. Let's sit down in front. Let's make a campfire. And you can hold the flashlight up to your face and you can tell me your story. Dude, stop. Just stop. Oh my God. This comic book is written in the most annoying way you could possibly write a comic book. You can't support these characters, man. So I'm going to try and stop with that. You know my feelings now. You know my feelings. So they try to throw some comedy in there with these two big, gigantic, like, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, or Tweedledum and Tweedledummer. Anyway, they like, show them all sneaking behind there, and they get up and they go up, and it's like the prophet guy was ready for them. The Thulsa just, he starts doing his magic, and his eyes turns green, and he starts going like, silence. Starts, hissing a lot. And it's like, dude, this isn't cool, man. This isn't cool. But he goes walking up, and he starts saying, like, he starts taunting me. He's like, I know that mark on your head. It doesn't mean that you're a Lord of Atlantis. Actually, it's an Atlantean mark of shame. Was it little boys, or was it more of the four-legged type that you enjoyed? It's like, whoa, dude. He just called him a pedophile and or bestiality dude. Like, what? So he's right there. He touches the mark on his forehead. He could have done the curry thing again, and you know what I'm saying? He could have just killed him right there and ended it. But no, instead he starts taunting him. The guy gets all sorts of ticked off, and he's like, how dare you? Pew, pew, pew. And slaves start killing him, and they do. They start going everywhere. And Thulsa gets close again. He's almost ready to beat him up again. And he's like, oh, well, you've killed all of my, guys because you did your magic thing again. But I'm going to summon a big two-headed demon dog. Roar! And so the demon dog is just like, go and kill them, eat them. But instead he starts eating his own men. And it's like, no, don't eat my men. And Thulsa's like, he like snatches the amulet from him, finally. And he's like, never summon something you can't control. So he turns around, demon, you must disappear now because you're funny looking. And he's like, first, and he goes and eats the prophet guy, starts eating out his entrails. It's not really a good death. It's like, whatever. And he's like, okay, well, now go back to where you came from. And he's like, oh, I'll go. But why don't you come with me, Thulsa? You know that you belong. Oh, that's right. We know your name. We know who you are. You need to be coming with us because, let's face it, you belong with us, not with, these people. You're evil in your core. It's like, dude, where's this even coming from? This is never addressed again. It's like the denizens of hell knew that he was destined for evil. So it's kind of giving the idea like he's, like it's a destiny, but it's not done in a really good way. It's not done in a solid way. At all. So the thing disappears. And then, Malleus is really mad at him now. And he's like, all of my men are dead. How did your men die? Plus, did you notice that they didn't actually kill anybody? What was the purpose of those men being there in the first place? They weren't even fodder. Like, there was no purpose for those men to have been there in the first place. Thulsa could have snuck in and done all that stuff on his own, honestly. So it didn't make any sense. All these guys are dead. Don't worry, there are apparently more soldiers. They didn't use all the soldiers to do this. So, what happens now? At this point, An Kosta returns, and that's the end of issue 1. That's right. All this was just issue 1 of 4. So a lot of action here. I do have to give it that. All right. So issue 2, everything else kind of goes a lot faster here. So they beat up An Kosta. What do you call it? Mostly like Thulsa's like, I'm being punked. Oh no. And the amulet is stolen from him. And then he's only saved because Malleus actually goes and stabs her through the heart from behind with a spear. And she's like, oh no. And her face shows again. And it's so any damage. And then she's like, I'm ugly. I'm ugly. And she leaves again. What are you doing? Also, the idea of don't return, otherwise, or don't return without Thulsa's head, otherwise it'll be your head. So she leaves out into the sea, but apparently she doesn't actually go there. I don't know what's happening. I don't know where she's going to. I don't know what any of this is happening. She keeps coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. Weirdest bad guy ever. So anyway, they beat her up, and right again, who are you, Thulsa? So he finally says who he is. For the most part, he's like, I was a slave. I didn't know, I was a slave in Atlantis. I'm not actually Atlantean. I don't even know if my people exist anymore. She just really liked me. She would like to have sex with me, and she would like to torture me. I don't know, whatever. That's it. And finally, the one night I had the chance to escape. But, and it was going to be so sneaky, and I stole her amulet, which increases, sorceress power, so it actually increases the power that, I guess they're indicating that he learned some stuff by staying with her for so long, and it increases his power a lot in order to do that. And, what do you call it? So he was going to escape, but then he saw her whipping a slave, so he takes one of those braziers, whatever, the fiery, charcoal pit thing, and just, in her face, and she's like, ow! And so now she hates him forever, and he escaped, and the Atlanteans are like, no slave escapes, and the idea is that nobody's ever escaped from Atlantis. Malleus even says that. Nobody escapes from Atlantis. How would you know? So, it's all of it's just really weird. But anyway, yeah, that's most of the story. You'll find out more later. So, Malleus is now Duke Malleus, because apparently if you're the captain of the guard and the Duke and the Duchess are dead and they don't have any heirs, well, apparently now you're the duck. The duck. You're the Duke. So, yeah, he's Duke Malleus. And his first act is to banish Thulsa. He's like, apparently you caused this cataclysm by stealing that thing, and somehow by you escaping, somehow that caused everything to... It's really weird, man. It's really weird. Yeah, like he splash landed. It's split into two, and it's strange the way it happened. Anyway, he when he escaped, he landed unconscious on the sea, and that's when this one other person who escaped Atlantis, banishment land. Nobody escapes from Atlantis. This guy apparently escaped from Atlantis. So did all these other slave guys that he captured. He steals his amulet thing, and that's when he starts pewing people before he got eaten by the two-headed dog. So he gets banished. Unfortunately, Thulsa's wife, Malleus's wife shows up and is like, no, wait, I like Thulsa, so let him stay. So he's told, okay, well, go to this temple of this old god. I think it's called Volca. Yes, Volca was actually one of the gods of ancient Atlantis, pre-cataclysmic, during Kull's time. So he's like, go there. There's apparently something cool there. And yeah, he's like, well, why didn't you go? He's like, well, I sent some people there and they haven't returned. I don't know when he sent them. It's like a day away. And he's like, okay, well, why don't you go? He's like, I'm sending you. All right, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to do a cleanup thing. Why don't you just go? So Malleus didn't want to go. That's going to be very telling in a little while. So, this is so dumb. He's like, give me a horse. So then in the next issue, he goes on his horse, gets to this place, and Kosta shows up again and cuts off his horse's head with a vine. And it's like, a head for a head, a head for sword? And what? So he's like, I'm going to take you back. I'm going to put Lemurian beetles under your skin and they're going to eat you alive and stuff. It's like, yeah, whatever. So he starts running and these 2 lion statues attack him. Somehow he's able to escape, but she can't. So he's able to duck inside of the tower, and then there's like the corpses of some priests who apparently died while they were meditating around this area. They start talking to him. And then we go on to the next issue. Yeah, it really worked like that. So he finds the sword of Valka. Valka is this god of, the god of the Valusian times. Anyway, it's this sword of Valka. And it's supposed to be super powerful. And they're like, no, it's not meant for you. It's actually meant for Malleus. It's destined to go to him. It's prophecy, which apparently doesn't actually happen. And the guy obviously didn't care too much about it anyway. If it's prophetic, well, then wasn't he supposed to go? If Muhammad doesn't go to the mountain, the mountain will go to Muhammad. Will go to Muhammad. You've heard that. Oh my God, what's that called? Anyway, you've heard that saying before, right? So what happens here? Nothing. Prophecies that aren't fulfilled. I don't think I've ever encountered something like that before. So anyway, An Kosta shows up again, and she's like, let's fight. And she's got the amulet. It's like, you want the amulet? You know what? You can keep it. I found something better. And he slices her with the sword. And then she starts flying away again. He lets her get away. Okay, here's where it gets weird. He takes his sword and he starts firing pink lightning bolts at her. Pew, pew, pew. Really? So swords can shoot lightning bolts now? Come on, man. This thing's so apparently this thing's more powerful than the amulet, or just as powerful, whatever. So he leaves and he comes back and he goes back to, he slices the thing. It's like, shut up, your prophecy. It's like, apparently he's not worthy. He doesn't like the idea that he's not worthy. Yeah, sure. Sounds really cute. Anyway, so he comes back to Maraconda, and Malleus is there waiting for him. He's like, you're such a good person. Oh, congratulations. Thank you. And he's still wearing the same clothes, but it's like a day's ride away, so a day's ride back. So, and then he was there for probably more than a day, or probably more than, a couple hours. So you figure 3 days later, Malleus is still wearing the same clothes, still has the same cuts and blood everywhere. And it's like, it looks like he was just in a vacuum waiting for him to come back. Oh, you're back. I'm so happy for you. What's that at your side? Meanwhile, I'm looking at the art. It's on his back. There's nothing on his side. There's nothing on his side. Plus, where'd he get this other horse from? The other horse was decapitated. Might as well have been put inside of, that one dude's bed from the beginning of the Godfather movie. What the heck is happening here, man? Yeah, the whole thing is just wonky and no attention to detail is paid whatsoever. So it's like, can I see the sword? Thulsa's like, And he's like, I'll give it right back. He's like, okay. So he's like, oh, hey, cool. And he gives it right back. Okay, so I guess the sword was brought to him. So there's the prophecy. No shining lights or anything. No special. Yay! Anyway, so, and guess what? An Kosta shows up again. He's like, you'll never have to hear from her again. 2 seconds later, oh, crap. She's just kidnapped your wife and your daughter and all these other people and strung them up, and there's these chains, and she's going to make them snap like twigs, apparently, and everybody's going to come crashing down. The only way to handle this is, hey, guess what? Even though I wasn't actually in the temple at the time, somehow I know that sword, Malleus, was actually meant for you. Thulsa's not giving you your inheritance, your whatever, your destiny stuff. Destiny stuff is probably the perfect word for what happens in here. So he looks at him. He's like, It's like, kill him and I'll let your family go. He's like, guards. He's like, don't do it. He's like, kill him. There are so many times when he's supposed, there's the part where they actually show earlier in the previous 2 issues ago, whatever, when he's got all these swords and knives and spears all put around his neck, and it's like, yeah, just lean forward a little bit and slice your own throat. And then the very next panel, they're all gone, and it's just his. Malleus's wife talking to him. you're actually a good person. Okay, so apparently there is no woman in here who actually has any kind of sense whatsoever. It's like we're clearly showing that this guy is evil, and there's something wrong with him, I think, but she somehow sees good in him, and I guess he just doesn't. And then there's An Kosta, the worst villain that you could possibly find here. I'm like, this is... Oy. So they fight, and then all of a sudden there's this gigantic... And Kosta makes this... All these corpses come together, form this big corpse megazord, and it's completely ineffective. It doesn't do anything. And then he grabs this, he's got the sword, and he's like, ah! And he, like, jumps up and slices it, and apparently by slicing, I guess, the most important corpses, I don't know what it is. He does one slice, and the whole thing falls apart. And then he comes down and cuts into An Kosta. I guess she's finally dead, because she's been stabbed so many times and sliced so many times and burned and all this stuff. Apparently... This was, she's been stabbed with this sword before, too. She's been sliced with this sword. I don't know what was special about this cut. Like, it's the weirdest freaking thing. But somehow this was apparently enough. Maybe we'll see her again. Who knows? Who cares? Who cares? I'm not reading any more of this stuff, man. I'm just not. And she apparently seemingly dies. So one sword slice actually... destroys the corpse megazord and An Kosta and saves the day. At one point, he actually goes and he takes the amulet and the sword, and I don't know if they can actually go into each other, but the energy definitely does, and the art was supposed to explain this. Guess what? It didn't. Big surprise there. Sorry for the sarcasm. I don't like insulting people's art. I'm really just... It's not about insulting someone's art. I don't like his art. I'm not trying to insult the person. It's as simple as that. And I'm not trying to insult the writer. This was a terribly written comic book, but I'm not trying to insult the writer. I'm insulting the comic book. I'm saying in general that this was a work that just felt too rushed. And you're going to understand why that is such a horrible, horrible decision. I'm gonna tell you all that stuff in a minute. Anyway, the whole day is ended. The amulet is wrecked. The sword is wrecked. And yeah, then Malleus goes up and it's like, you wanted the sword? Keep it. You wanted the amulet? Keep it. And the stuff is just laying there because they're all burnt out and destroyed apparently. And Thulsa leaves, and everybody except for like Malleus and two other Maracandians are dead, and they're just like, leaning on the ground, and Thulsa just leaves dejected, and it's like, what is this? So anyway, that was the story. Now let's talk about some of the... Oh, and he says, at one point, Doom follows you everywhere like a dark cloud. Your name is Doom, Thulsa. Your name is Doom. So, that's where he got Thulsa Doom from. I got that from the very first issue. This was nothing, like, that's where he got the name. There was nothing. There was nothing in this comic book. This comic book, this 4-issue limited series, was the biggest waste I could possibly imagine. Why is that such a big deal, though? We know they were going to make a movie based on this, right? Okay, so one of the best and most underrated actors ever, Jimin Hanzo, he was actually supposed to play Thulsa Doom in a movie. So mind you, this comic book came out in 2009, July of 2009. Since about 2008, apparently they've been planning on doing this movie. I don't know exactly the details of all this stuff, but Arthur Lieberman, who died in 2012, I'm going to come back to that in a moment. He did that original... In 1997, he had two significant programs out. One was that Kull the Conqueror movie. This is back in 1997. There was a Kull the Conqueror movie starring Kevin Sorbo. That's not Kull the Conqueror. I don't want to hear it. They're like none of the characters. There's nothing in this that's anything. The name is Kull the Conqueror. There's nothing else. Not to be confused with Krull, which was a totally epic movie. I don't care what you say. With that thing, that boomerang thing with the spikes in it. That was awesome. All right. Krull was awesome. Kull the Conqueror featuring Kevin Sorbo. Booty. That was a booty movie. Also at about the same time was something I never heard about. There was a Conan television series in 1979 or 1997 also. What? I didn't realize that there was 22 episodes of this thing, Conan. I didn't know it existed. Never watched an episode of it. Not going to, because I've heard terrible things about it. So, yeah, it is what it is, man. Anyway, Arthur Lieberman was responsible for those. He apparently pushed for this to happen, and this was going to be a movie, or the movie was going to be based off of what had also happened here. This was supposed to be, according to Jimon Hansu, this was actually supposed to be, all of this was to lead to this movie where Thulsa Doom was actually supposed to be portrayed, supposed to be humanized as a flawed hero. He's not a hero in any way, shape, or form in this book, in these 4-issue series, which, mind you can get, right now you can actually get the whole thing on Comixology for $6.99 US, so all 4 issues. Is it worth it? Honestly, my opinion, no. But it is what it is. Maybe if you go to like a library or your comic book store and you see the whole thing on sale for super cheap, maybe consider getting it. Again, it's worth it just to get it for the covers. But that's about the best I could say about this. If this was made into a movie, it would be horrible. It would be terrible. Just like the Call the Conqueror and apparently the Conan TV series. So check this out. Jimon Hansu would have probably made the movie a lot better than it deserved to be, because he is an amazing actor. And he was going to give the character a lot of life, and I believe he genuinely would have. I also believe that it still wouldn't have been made very well at all. Look, when push comes to shove, this was supposed to be... I feel that this version of Thulsa Doom was actually based on the original version that was released. Not the original that was written by Robert E. Howard, but the original version that was released. Because if you go and check out my 10 Things About Thulsa Doom, explained in a minute, Delcardis's cat, where Thulsa Doom was originally introduced, was actually a rejected script. But Skullface wasn't rejected, and he reused the Thulsa Doom character in a new character called Kaluthos. So this seems to have been based on that version instead, in which case, why didn't you just call him Kaluthos? Cathulos. Why didn't you just base him on that? Anyway, definitely consider reading those stories because they're really good. There are links below so you can actually find the books where Delcardis's cat and Skullface, along with many other Call the Atlantean stories, are in there. So you can see the original written works by Robert E. Howard and how they were supposed to be portrayed. Anyway, all of this is terrible. So there was supposed to be Rose McGowan was supposed to play Red Sonja in a story that was supposed to be produced by Arthur Lieberman also. It was supposed to be directed by Robert Rodriguez. It was actually written by David N. White. This never came to happen. It was supposed to get an R rating. There was a I think it was a 2008 Comic-Con, a bunch of interviews with him and whatnot. This never came to be just because it was never meant to be. Later on in 2011, they wound up making the Conan movie, August of 2011. The Conan movie was made where Jason Momoa played Conan. Jason Momoa, who has always played a Conan-type character in pretty much everything he's ever been in. Including Aquaman. He was basically Conan bro who could breathe underwater. Ron Perlman was in that also, and go figure, Rose McGowan was in that movie also, but not as Red Sonja, as a villain called Maraqui, something like that. I watched the first 20 minutes, I think, of that Conan movie, and I walked right out. I legit got up and I walked out. I got my money back. It was a terrible, terrible movie. All of it. So... And then a year later, that's when Arthur died. I believe it's his son, Luke Lieberman, is still doing a bunch of stuff. He's writing comic books. I believe he's still writing comic books. He just wrote a Queen Sonya comic book, which I don't know how good it was. He and Peter David also wrote Red Sonja versus Thulsa Doom, which came out sometime later. That is in 2012, August 29th, 2012 was the digital release date. I don't know about the regular release date for this. Will Conrad did the art. I'm a fan of Will Conrad. I first really paid attention to him when he took over for Hawkman, I believe immediately after Brian Hitch left. That's the current run that's happening as of right now, 2012. Anyway, what could all of this have happened? What could have been done with this? I don't know. The last time we heard about this movie was in 2012, where they said, oh, it's still planned to be happening, but the license for Conan is now with Marvel. And let's face it, if they're going to do a Conan movie or any of these movies at this point, it's going to be through the MCU. And that would make it epic, probably. As far as the Red Sonja and all this other stuff, yeah, the license for Red Sonja is not with Marvel right now, so that's an entirely different one. Anyway, this comic book and everything else around it was meant to be as, getting people thirsty for a movie. The movie wound up never happening. It's definitely not going to happen now that Mr. Arthur Lieberman is dead. I don't know how good it would have been. Probably not that good, even with Jimon Hansu on it. And that's pretty much all I've got to say about all of this. All of this was just really a wreck. It was a wreck that should have been planned out a whole lot better. But it is what it is. Anyway, guys, feel free to check out more about all this stuff. Feel free to check out the recommended reading below. And I'll talk to you guys later. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.